Hello everyone, and welcome back to Recollection, where every game has a story. And this week I wanted to take another look at a game that took me a little while to get into. And I tried. I had a friend have me borrow it and said I love it, wanted to check it out, and I played a little bit of it. And I liked what I played, but I also got really confused by it. And it was a different kind of confusion to the one where I experienced with Final Fantasy Tactics, where I was just like, what am I doing wrong here? I thought I knew what I was doing, but it was causing me so much anxiety with like, oh, am I doing this right? I don't know. And I've never really played this genre before, and I'm not quite sure what to do. And yeah, I just ended up dropping it despite enjoying what I had played up to that point and never really got around to coming back to it until it crossed over with another game that I really enjoyed. And it was similar to the genre, but not quite the same. It had a bit of a twist to it that I really enjoyed and just got addicted. So when this crossover was supposed to come out, I'm like, is it really going to happen? I've heard about this, but I don't know. And it did. And that crossover was Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney.
So, witches, Professor?
That's right. People in the Middle Ages very much believed in their existence. That is the reason why they had witch trials. Do you see?
Witch trials? Did witches really exist in those days?
Well, my boy, witch trials certainly existed, although nobody ever truly used magic. Witches were nothing more than superstition and legend.
Wow, look, it's really London. Come on, Nick, take a look.
I know you're excited, Maya, but can't a guy get a few last Z's in?
This is no time to be sleeping. You won't win in an English court of law with that attitude.
This trip is just an exchange visit courtesy of the Legal League of Attorneys. I won't be defending in court officially.
Aw, well that's no fun. You know you're always at your best when working under pressure, but who can say how things would go over here?
I wish you wouldn't talk like that. You only jinx the whole thing.
And I like this game. This is a fun game. This is a good one. But it's also one of those that I don't know if fully captures each original game's aspects to completion or the best, but it is still a fun crossover. And more importantly, this is also what finally gave me an idea of how to return and get into the actual Phoenix Wright series. Because, as I mentioned, I was already into Professor Layton. I got into Professor Layton and played through Curious Village, played through Diabolical Box, played through Unwound Future, and just enjoyed all of them. They really found this way to hook me in with its characters and the crazy puzzles, and it just worked for me. So I was just absorbing anything Professor Layton, and I know the internet at that time, everybody at that time still loved Phoenix Wright. I've heard great things about it, but I never quite got into it because, as I said, when I borrowed it from my friend, I didn't fully understand it, or else I didn't read close enough, because the thing that I got into was, so here's what I thought with my original playthrough of Ace Attorney. I thought I had to press on only the questions that mattered. I thought, the way it was explained, at least at the time, that if I pressed on the wrong thing, I would lose points. I would take damage and lose out on that stuff. So I'm like, oh God, I got to figure out exactly which line it was in order to get the information I need in order to continue on. And I was able to do that just fine in the opening case because it was all pretty obvious. But I got to the second one, it's like, oh no, what do I do? I'm like deer in the headlights moments. I don't know what I need to press on. And I just assumed that I would lose out on points if I pressed on the wrong things. So I'm like, it's too much. I don't want to do this. And I just shut it off. I don't know why. Because I feel like I was old enough to understand. I was, I think, in late middle school or early high school when I played it. But for whatever reason, it just didn't click with me. So when I finally returned to the series through Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright, it was my first example or first time with the Phoenix Wright series since that point, with that borrowing the game. And I was honestly really nervous to get back to it. I'm like, well, I know the Professor Layton section, that's all nice and simple. I can handle that, but oh boy, the Phoenix Wright, what do I do here? But of course, being older, being, having a bit more experience, or at least understanding it a bit more, I don't know what it was. Or maybe I just read the directions a bit better this time. It's like, oh, I want to press on every character, get all the info, and you'll still figure it out, and you won't lose points that way, and still get it all handled. And that's when it clicked for me. It's like, oh no, this is really fun. This is really cool. I like this. And it was really funny playing Ace Attorney later and then looking back on the Versus game, because they basically just took the investigation portions of Phoenix Wright and slapped Professor Layton on there. So it's like, yeah, it's like you're investigating and you get puzzles along the way, and fits into that whole Professor Layton thing. So it actually is kind of impressive how the two melded so perfectly together in that way. And even though the art styles are definitely different, it kind of worked for what it was. And I did enjoy the game. I won't say it's perfect or the best in either one of them, but it's a fun crossover, a fun way to get these characters together with some good twists and turns as you go along in the story, and an ending that is straight out of the Professor Layton series. And I think that's key, because I remember I didn't get a chance to review this for Game Explain when I worked there at the time. Instead, I enlisted my good friend Ted Wiesen. And I knew he was a massive Phoenix Wright fan, but he wasn't so into Professor Layton. I'd seen that quite a few times. It just didn't click with him, mainly because the endings are always kind of out there and make no sense, at least in his opinion. And that was certainly the case with this crossover as well. And I get it. They are out of nowhere, but that's just how Layton is, where there's just these massive leaps in logics that you just kind of go with, yeah, sure, why not? It works. It makes sense. And I suppose Phoenix Wright is a little more grounded in that way, but also not really, in my opinion. It's sort of its own thing. So I think it, fits together pretty well. Again, not the best in both of them in either, like if you look at them individually, but as a crossover, it works, it's fun, and that's the key point. It did its job as a crossover, where you get one fan of the fans of one series to check out the other series. And that's what happened with me. I was a Professor Layton fan. It got me to check out Phoenix Wright, and while I still haven't played every Phoenix Wright game, I highly enjoy them. The original trilogy is fantastic. Apollo Justices have some issues, and I still need to play all the others. I still need 5, 6, the Miles Edgeworth games, as well as the upcoming Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which is coming out this coming week. I'm excited for those and checking out all that has to offer, because I've heard really good things from the original releases. And I think that crossovers like this really highlight how you can get people into other things. And Smash Brothers is another great example. By taking something somebody already enjoys and adding something that complements it or is kind of similar and getting them into it, it can really broaden a fan base. And I think that's why crossover things are so important a lot of times, whether it's an individual versus like this, Ace Attorney and Phoenix Wright, or Marvel vs. Capcom, where all of a sudden, like, I remember with Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I'm like, who are these characters? What are they from? I don't know what this is. I kind of want to check it out. I think that's how I learned about Darkstalkers. Even though I still haven't played a Darkstalkers game, I'm at least familiar with the characters now, thanks to those crossovers. And it makes it kind of fun to see what they're all about. And I just can't deny that without this game, I probably would not be a Phoenix Wright fan, and I'm so grateful for that, because I wanted to check it out for a while, and I enjoyed what I played, but I was also like, I'm too nervous. Now I'm all good. And I got the chance to relive the first Ace Attorney again through Amy and get all her reactions, and it still just hits the same, those great moments. And I'm excited to check out more from Ace Attorney. Eventually I'll get to Ace Attorney 5 and 6 and get to check those out. I'm still hoping for a trilogy release of that. I still want to check out the Miles Edgeworth stuff. There's all kinds of Ace Attorney things I still need to check out. But without Professor Layton, it just wouldn't have happened. So yeah, check out crossovers. Check out those type of things to see what you can learn about them. Open your mind to other possibilities, and that's sort of how I've lived most of my gaming life. It's like, this sounds interesting, let's check it out, why not, let's see how this goes. And it's led to a lot of different genres for me, and I've always greatly enjoyed that. So yeah, that's just, I don't know, I was in a Phoenix Wright mood, and it's like that's kind of the story. Let's talk about my origins into Phoenix Wright for this one, and it's between two games. But yeah, that's my story on Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, and I'm curious what you all thought. Like, how did you get into Professor Layton? How did you get into Phoenix Wright? Did this game get you into the other? I'm very curious about that, so let me know in the comments. And of course, be sure to subscribe to Good Vibes Gaming for much more recollections and all the other content we have here. We also have our Patreon over at patreon.com/gvgaming, and of course, all the support you can provide is always appreciated. We thank you so much for that. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time for even more recollection. Till then, everyone, bye.
Wow, Professor, this is amazing.
Objection! Hang on!
The time has come at last to settle this once and for all.